Hi, everybody. Let's finish up our 1.1 notes by talking about two-way tables. Two-way tables are a table that shows the distribution of data for two categorical variables. It shows the frequency of individuals that fall into each category for both variables. So we'll do some examples in just a minute. Let's talk about this other vocabulary. You can see I highlighted it, and it's going to correspond down here to our example. A marginal total is the total frequency of all individuals that fall into a category of a variable. A marginal relative frequency is the relative frequency of all individuals that fall into a category of variables. And joint relative frequency is the relative frequency of individuals that fall into one category of one variable and a specific category for the other variable. All right, so here's our two-way table. It's male and female soccer and basketball players. All right, so here I have my soccer basketball players. Here I have my gender. And you can see these numbers in yellow. These are these frequencies. These are called margin totals, right? And I can get those like this 128 right here represents the total number of males. So if I went 60 plus 68, I get 128. Same thing here. If I went basketball, if I went 68 plus 22, I get 90. Right. So the sum of each row and each column gives me the margin totals. This number right here, I don't have it listed, but this is called the table total. And if I do the sum of all these numbers here, the 60, 68, 22, and 50, I should get 200. Or if I do the sum of the margin totals, 128 plus 72, I should get 200, or 110 plus 90, I should get 200. And now the marginal relative frequencies, these are these numbers in pink. So these are the margin totals divided by the table total. So for instance, 128 divided by 200 gives me 0.64. And I could write that as a percentage if I wanted to. And then finally, joint relative frequency is when I take the frequency from each cell and divide that by the table total. So like 60 divided by 200 gives me 0.30. So that means 30% of the people in this data set were male soccer players. Or likewise, if I did 22 divided by 200, I can see that 11% of the people in this data set were female basketball players. All right, so pretty straightforward. Now, next is a conditional relative frequency. And that's the relative frequency of individuals that fall into a category of a variable among individuals who fall into the same category of the other variable. All right, so here I have joint relative frequency of gender by sport. So here I'm just looking at soccer players, and I'm going to describe the distribution of the gender for just soccer players. So here I did 60 divided by 110, and that gives me 0.5545. Likewise, 50 divided by 110 gives me 0.454. And I could do the same thing for basketball. So I can see basically that, among soccer players, almost 55% were male and about 45% were female. And among basketball players, more than 75% were male, where about 25% were female. And then we could do the same thing going the other way. This is the joint relative frequency of sport by gender. So here I'm taking just gender and finding the distribution of sport played within each gender, right? So among the males, if I did 60 divided by 128, I can see that 47% or so of the males were soccer players, and 53% were basketball players. Likewise, 50 divided by 72 gives me about 70% of females were soccer players, and just about 30% of females were basketball players. All right, so that is it for our 1.1 notes. Thanks for watching.